take a sip of coffee because it is showtime. Everybody, welcome to an all-new Downright Sports, the radio show. I am your host, the Notorious Sports Critic, Brent Reid, and we are on DynastyRadioNY.com, the number one source for hip-hop and R&B. Thank you. But if you didn't catch it on Dynasty Radio, then you're listening to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor. If you're listening for the first time, subscribe. But if you're also listening for the first time, most importantly, this is a sports show taught to you by a sports fan. So much to cover and so much time. But I said it when they drafted him, and I'm going to say it when the Jets drafted Zach Wilson. Now, these could be bad games. Everybody's entitled to a bad game. But I'm going to say it right now. The Jets had an opportunity to get Josh Fields, and they went after a guy who nobody heard of, even his own mama, and I just don't understand it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you waste a draft pick on a maybe when you probably had a guarantee there? Even though Chicago lost yesterday, it wasn't because of it definitely wasn't because of Fields, who didn't even start. And I can see why, Chicago's O-line is kind of terrible. But look at the three quarterbacks. Okay, look at a lot of the quarterbacks. Let's just go like that. Look at a lot of the quarterbacks that started yesterday in the NFL, if you will. If you look at a lot of those quarterbacks that played yesterday, you had, I call him Talua, Miami, thrower, passer. Kyle Murray, thrower, passer. Jalen Hurts, thrower, passer. Even if you want to put Baker Mayfield in there, thrower, passer. Famous Jameis, more of a pocket guy, but can roll if he needs to. Heck, the hybrid quarterback is, you got Tom Brady, but the hybrid quarterback is kind of the next evolution here. And if you're the Jets and you're the Giants, and now what's crazy is Daniel Jones can actually roll. But if you're the Jets and the Giants and you're still trying to do these traditional offenses where he rolls back in the pocket, he looks left, he looks right, it ain't gonna work, man. You need explosive receivers. You need a quarterback that can make it work on his own. It just ain't gonna work if you keep trying to do this 1972 style football. I'm sorry, like Joe Montana ain't walking through nobody's doors no more. Something stood out to me before I just start moving on, but something really stood out to me yesterday in a lot of the gameplay. The biggest thing I took away from yesterday was we didn't have many explosive running back things to talk about. Like, you had Joe Mixon, who plays for Cincinnati, who rushed for 127 yards. But then after that, everybody else was kind of like, And we didn't have, you really didn't have quarterbacks throwing 500 yards, but it's clear the direction that the NFL is going in, and that direction is NBA style. We trying to shoot threes. Now, teams that win tend to be a little more balanced. I love Tampa. But you looking at the future, okay? You're looking at the future, and people just ain't paying attention to it. The Saints are embracing the future. The Saints basically told Jameis Winston, don't break it. Don't break it. Somehow, that defense looks totally different. Now, maybe Green Bay's just that bad, but the Saints putting up 38 and only allowing Aaron Rodgers, who got benched, probably so he don't get hurt, but Green Bay put up 3 total points. That's the league MVP, kids. Unlike my favorite player, the true MVP, Patrick Mahomes, who basically said, no, Cleveland. No, Cleveland. Let me remind you of your place in the pecking order of things. And the Michael Jordan of football, Patrick Mahomes basically just stole Cleveland's heart. Like, all them guys, the dog power, they were all there. They were excited. And then Patrick Mahomes, who should change his jersey number to 23, quite frankly, in my opinion, just balled out. Baker Mayfield, 300 yards passing, 0 touchdowns. Now, the guy who's the man, Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 337 yards. He only threw the ball 37 times. He just balled out. He did what he does best. He literally did his job. And it kind of helps when you got a guy like Hill and Travis that you can depend on. Travis Kuechly, the best tight end in the game right now. Tyreek Hill, one of the fastest. The play where Mayfield rolls and just stops and lets that thing go. Hill faked out the quarterback and just caught it. It was like, I'm just going to take this to the house. Don't you worry about me. I'm going to score here. I got this. They're good. They're really, really good. And if, you don't do a show without, every week is catastrophic. Now, it's week 1. It means nothing. There's a lot of football we play. Injuries can happen. Head coaches can quit. Anything could just derail a whole entire season. But if week 1 told us anything, it's that the Chiefs are still great, and some teams still just not there yet. Yeah. So, I had a different segment prepared for this, but what ultimately happened is I was on Facebook the other day, and I'm in a lot of different sports Facebook groups, and one of them is a basketball group, and my Saturday kicked off with some guy putting a photo of LeBron on LA and Jordan on Washington. And it basically was like LeBron was better than Jordan because when he got to his team, he won him a championship after the second year, and Jordan didn't even make the playoffs. And it was like, what? What? What did you just say? Like, what ignorance did you just put? Like, you should be condemned. Here it is. I found it. Joined a losing team 2 years later, retired. Joined a losing team 2 years later, championship. The retired is Jordan, the championship is LeBron. This photo, or meme, or whatever, GIF, whatever you want to call it, is the stupidest argument anybody can make. Now, he tried to make an argument with me. He tried to make a case, because I commented. I didn't even hesitate. I thought I had to shut this down early. Whoever this guy is, I don't want to just throw his name out there, but I also want to dignify his foolishness either. And he basically, his argument to me was, well, LeBron, he won the championship. Yeah. Did he forget that the Lakers had 3 losing seasons? They lost 2 before him and lost the first year with him. LeBron, the team was so trash, he didn't even continue to play. He was hurt. I think the argument I made was, I'm trying to find this foolishness this guy wrote, but forget it. The argument I made was, if you want to blame Mike for anything, blame him for being a poor GM, because he put that garbage team together. But if you're LeBron, you got Anthony Davis, you got one of the best players. Like, let's just stop. Let's just stop, okay? Let's stop the madness. The year LeBron and the Lakers won the championship was one of the most unique seasons we've ever seen. Part of the season was just done. It just stopped. It took a 2-month break. Came back playing in a bubble, if you will. And teams who were probably more geared and ready for a playoff run just either like overwhelmed players didn't want to play, people want to be with their families. We didn't know if we were even going to be around. You get what I'm saying? Like, you weren't 100% sure you were, if everybody was just going to live to see the next day. And the Lakers went to the finals and placed the Miami team nobody was expecting to be there. Okay? Like, nobody was looking for that Miami team to just made it to the finals. You know what I'm saying? So the Lakers go and they won. They're the champions. Sarah, Sarah. But LeBron's team was consisted of some very good talented players and one, if you say so, one of the top 10 players in the game today. Look at Jordan's Washington. I can't believe I'm defending this crap. Like, if you're going to compare it to, why not compare Mike and LeBron when both were in their prime? And don't give me statistics, because we all play to win a championship. Like, enough's enough. Losers say it's not all about championships. If you play a sport and it ain't to be the best at everything, then you just wasting your time and you just collecting a paycheck, which more power to you. You'll get all that money you can. But there's going to be winners and losers, and LeBron tends to have lost a lot more than Jordan has. Jordan's team had Juwan Howard, Yankees head back to the wall. He made a great catch at the wall. A great catch. That should have been a home run. Was it a home run? Somebody scored. I don't know what just happened. I honestly don't know what just happened. Hold on. My argument stops. Yankees are more important. Back to the track. Hits a ball. Back to the track. Warren Power. He caught it. Why did it look like? I don't know what the heck just happened. And so, yeah, he caught it. I don't know what they're showing it for. Anyway, he had Juwan Howard, Brandon Haywood, Rick Hamilton, who was still young and was still a pup, Christian Laettner, which would only, him and Jordan teaming up would have only been good if Christian Laettner had a Duke uniform on, Tyronn Lue, who started coaching then because, remember, AI stepped over him, and then Jordan's favorite draft pick, Kwame Brown, okay? We all know how Kwame Brown's season turned out. If you want to even look at the next season roster, okay? Jordan, Larry Hughes, who later will become at least a good player, Juwan Dixon, Brandon Haywood, Charles Oakley, who was like 1,000 years old, Jerry Stackhouse, and then the same crop of guys, okay? Same crop of guys. So you take that roster, if you will, you take that roster, and you stack that roster up with the 2020 Lakers roster, okay? With LeBron James, okay, Kyle Kuzma, who I would take over any of those guys I just said. Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, who I don't think played, Avery Bradley, Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo. I mean, almost the lineups do almost stack up, but Anthony Davis is he's the tiebreaker, if you will. Rajon Rondo is actually a damn great point guard. Like, if you gave Jordan Rondo, if you gave Jordan Dwight Howard, heck, if you even gave Jordan J.R. Smith, he probably would have been better. Like, just call it like I see it. You know what I'm saying? So, stop looking for arguments to compare the two. I think it's unfair. I don't think we can do it. Because people can't have intelligent conversation. Okay? If you're going to say Mike's the greatest because he got 6 championships, your argument is wrong because Bill Russell led a team to 11 and he was the coach on 1. And I say Bill Russell led because Bill Russell was the best player on his team when he played. That's clearly the argument. He didn't have to score because the game was played differently then, and his defense affected the gameplay. Go back and watch his highlights. Wilt Chamberlain, one of the top 2 greatest big men to maybe ever play, top 3, because top 3 greatest big men to ever play, said himself playing against Bill Russell used to piss him off because Wilt 6'2", Wilt 7 foot tall, Bill 6'9" could shut him down. All right, you move to the 70s. That's kind of old. That's kind of anybody's game. Kareem probably. We could just tip our cap to Kareem because Kareem was the man. But then you go to the 80s. Magic and Bird share that title. You feel me? They share the 80s. Before that, Jerry West, you could throw him in the 70s too. The 90s clearly belonged to Jordan. Clearly. I had to do the Donald Trump. Clearly. But then the 2000s came. And then the 2000s had who was the standout in the 2000s? Kobe, Shaq. Shaq ran the first 3 years. Then after that, Tim Duncan. You could throw Tim Duncan in there. You could. Dirk Nowitzki can make an argument, but it's a very quiet argument. Kobe Bryant, I know we all love Kobe. Kobe got one MVP award, and Kobe, you forget those dark years for the Lakers before 2008 when the Lakers resurged and made it back and all that stuff. And then after that, it died like a plane crash. And you can honestly say that LeBron's era and run and his dominance didn't start until when he got to Miami. When he got to Miami, he became Hollywood Hulk Hogan and told the world who he was. But even then, it was short-lived. The 4 years in Miami, he got 2 championships, 2 playoff losses, and one of them was to Dirk Nowitzki, the other was to Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard. And then after that, he allowed Steph Curry to step in the door and make an argument of being the best. He allows Kevin Durant to step in the door and make an argument to be the best. He allows the Greek Freak to step in the door and make an argument to be the best. So there's guys who dominate. So the argument shouldn't be who's the greatest. The argument should be who's the most dominating. And now we are changing the narrative, as they said in Hamilton. Let's change this narrative. It's not the greatest player. It's the most dominating player. Who dominated basketball better than anybody? Michael. Clearly. When Mike took over after Magic retired, the Detroit Pistons run ended because the NBA disbanded that team pretty much, and the Celtics were no longer the Celtics anymore. When Mike said, you know what? I'm signing my name on that NBA logo every single day. This is my league. Let's go to work. He got Scotty. He got Phil. But he said, let's go to work. He made it clear. You took him out the league. Houston had their window. You put him back in the league. Houston's window's closed, and so was everybody else. When people talk the 90s, they go Jordan and everybody else. When people talk LeBron in the 2000s, it's LeBron, it's KD. You can make arguments Kevin Durant's better. You can make arguments. Jordan dominated, clearly. So no more who's the greatest, who dominated. Just gonna leave it at that. We'll holler at you guys. As always, be safe and don't be afraid of just a little shot. Deuces. Hey. See the show's over.